Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. It's the 181st day of the year. So today's workbook lesson, 181. I trust my brothers who are one with me. And I am going to read out of Tom's book, switching over here on the streams. I can see my dad, Adriana, and Tom. You're all looking great today. Beautiful summer day. You could probably hear the birds in the background. Apparently, my microphone is really, really good at picking up all the background noise that I don't want it to. All right, here we go. Lesson 181. I trust my brothers who are one with me. Trusting your brothers is essential to establishing and holding up your faith in your ability to transcend doubt and lack of sure conviction in yourself. When you attack a brother, you proclaim that your brother is limited by what you have perceived in him. You do not look beyond your brother's errors. Rather, your brother's errors are magnified, becoming blocks to your awareness of the higher self that lies beyond your own mistakes and past your brother's seeming sins, as well as your own sins. Perception has focus. It is this focus that gives perception the consistency to what you see. Change but this focus of your perception, and what you behold will change accordingly. Your vision will now shift to give support to the intent which has replaced the intent you held before you changed your focus. Remove your focus on your brother's sins, and you experience the peace that comes from faith in sinlessness. This faith in sinlessness receives its only sure support from what you see in others past their sins. For their mistakes, if focused on, are witnesses to sins in you, and you will not transcend their sight and see the sinlessness that lies beyond. Therefore, in practicing today, we first let all such little focuses on mistakes give way to our great need to let our sinlessness become apparent. We instruct our minds that it is this sinlessness that we seek, and only sinlessness for just a little while. We do not care about our future goals, and what we saw an instant previous has no concern for us within this interval of time, wherein we practice changing our intent to seeing only sinlessness. We seek for innocence and nothing else. We seek for the innocence of sinlessness with no concern about the past or future, but only the present now. A major hazard to success has been involvement with your past and future goals. Goals and plans. Oh boy. You have become quite preoccupied with how extremely different goals of this course is advocating are from those goals your ego held before. Yes, yes, indeed. That's a deep part of this lesson. All right. And you have also been dismayed by the depressing and restricting thought that even if you should succeed with the goals of this course, you will inevitably lose your way again. Oh, yeah, I know that one too. Just highlighting a little bit. How could this concern about losing your way in the future matter? The past is gone, the future but imagined. These concerns are but defenses against the present change of focus in perception from sin to sinlessness, nothing more. We lay these pointless limitations by a little while. We do not look to past beliefs, and what we will believe in the future will not intrude upon us now. We enter in the time of practicing with one intent, to look upon sinlessness within. We recognize that we have lost this goal of looking upon the sinlessness within if anger blocks our way in any form. And if a brother's sins occur to us, our narrowed focus will restrict our sight and turn our eyes upon our own mistakes, which we will then magnify and call our sins. So, for a little while, without regard to the past or future, should such blocks arise, we will transcend these blocks with instructions to our minds to change their focus. As we say, it is not this mistake that I would look upon. I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me. And we will also use this thought that we're not going to focus on the mistake, but rather trust our brothers who are one with us to keep us safe throughout the day. We do not seek for long-range goals. Each obstruction from our focusing upon mistake seems to block the vision of our sinlessness. We but seek, this word, we but seek for surcease an instant from the misery the focus upon sin will bring, and the misery that will remain if our focus on sin is left uncorrected. That surcease word, it's an archaic meaning just to stop, basically, to cease. We just want to stop for a little bit, focusing on the misery that focusing on the sin is going to bring. That's the key of that sentence there. It's so important. All right. Paragraph 8. Nor do we ask for fantasies. All right, we're not here to blow smoke either. For what we seek to look upon, our sinlessness, is really there. And as our focus goes beyond mistakes, we will behold a wholly sinless world. When seeing this sinlessness is all we want to see, I didn't read that right. Actually, maybe I did. When seeing this sinlessness is all we want to see, when sinlessness is all we seek for in the name of true perception, are the eyes of Christ inevitably ours. And the love Christ feels for us becomes our love as well. This love and sinlessness will become the only thing we see reflected in the world and in ourselves. What a miracle is that? The world, which once proclaimed our sins, becomes the proof that we are sinless, and our love for everyone we look upon attests to our remembrance of the holy big S self which knows no sin and never could conceive of anything without its sinlessness. We seek for this remembering of the big S self's sinlessness as we turn our minds to practicing today. We look neither ahead nor backwards. We look straight into the presence. Present. And we and we give our trust to the experience we ask for now. Our sinlessness is but the will of God. This instant is our willing one with God's will. And now we have the notes to lesson 181. This is from Understanding A Course in Miracles Workbook lessons. How to end the blame, shame, guilt, and fear with love and forgiveness. It's the book that Tom wrote. There's some really good notes in here, and that's why I read it. All right. I trust my brothers who are one with me. This lesson states that the first 50 workbook lessons were trying to demonstrate experientially. When you change your focus, you change what you call into your awareness. Your beliefs and thoughts color your world. Your physical senses are thought confirmation devices and not objective cameras to the world as we've been taught. The job of your senses is merely to confirm what your mind already believes. To be out there. The goal of perception is to provide witnesses that proclaim the reality of your ego's current belief system. Perception has a focus, and this focus gives consistency to what we see. The focus is always to confirm what your mind wants your outside world to reflect. If you change your focus, you will become aware of items that support your new intent. In our egoic world, our current focus is on getting our perceived needs met. Your ego's plan revolves around its belief in lack, limitation, and separation. The ego has assigned roles for all parties to fulfill in its plan for its own survival. Your egoic thinking is centered on judging the performance of you and your brother. Since you associate yourselves with your ego, whenever another has failed to fulfill the role your ego has assigned for your happiness, you see that party as a sinner. This reinforces your ego's belief that there are outside forces that could make you happy or sad. Since you are not happy, your focus is on your brother's mistakes that you perceive to be a sin. Therefore, your world is perceived to be a sinful place. This ongoing focus on your brother's failures to make you happy gives consistency to what you see. Since ideas do not leave their source, the sins you see in your brother are your own beliefs in lack. Since to give is to receive, if you choose to see your brother as innocent and sinless, you give yourself that same innocence. When you consciously decide to change your focus from sin to sinlessness, the awareness you glean from each experience will reflect this new focus. The world of perception is a vast array of endless possibilities. You get to choose what you will place your attention upon. It is this focus that determines which of the endless array of possibilities you will call into your awareness. A major problem in changing your focus is your involvement with your past beliefs and your future goals. You cling to the past and the future, and you fail to be aware of the present. The present becomes a replay of your past beliefs and fears. You're not in the now. The past is gone, and the future is but imagined. Your past and future concerns are mere defenses designed to block your decision to change your current focus. Only in the present can you make a different choice. Whenever you become angry, you've lost focus on sinlessness, which is not a fantasy. Yet, for sinlessness to be recognized as your true and current reality, you need to change your focus from your brother's sins to the sinlessness and innocence of all who choose to participate in the game of reawakening. It's my favorite game. The focus of the ego's thought system is on finding sin, guilt, and fear in your brother, and thus in yourself. The intention of the Holy Spirit's thought system is to see your brother and yourself as perfect, whole, and complete. When sinlessness is your only focus, you will obtain the vision of Christ, and love will be all you see. Your sinlessness and innocent world, your sinless and innocent world will become proof that you remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. And Tom's question of the day is, A Course in Miracles suggests that you do not try to change your world, but rather change how you view your world. When you do, your world must automatically realign to support your new viewpoint. Have you ever had the experience of changing your focus and watching the perception of your world change? That is the end of the notes. I think Tom was going to give us a meditation today. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Wonderful.
So
Thanks, Tom.
lesson lesson 181 is not that they're not all important, but it's another one of those important lessons that we always talk about. I I trust my brothers who are one with me. But what I'd like to focus on is this idea in paragraph 181.2. Perception has a focus. It is the focus that gives perception the consistency to what you see. Change but this focus of your perception, and what you behold will change accordingly. Uh, that's some words that sound, boy, that almost too good to be true, because that's giving us tremendous power as to how we relate to our world, how we observe our world. But uh, physiologists and psychologists and quantum physicists, they're now presenting scientific evidence that shows that that is true, that they're saying that your mind's beliefs have a direct uh, impact on how you relate in your world. And if we look at some of their scientific research of the physiologists, Heart Math Institute, uh, even military experiments done on the power of the mind, we see that the power of the mind has tremendous ability. And if you get into the research, you'll actually see that it says that the heart emits its own energy force. And that's kind of beyond this lesson. But what I want you to realize that this is not just some spiritual mm, ideas that some mystics have come up with. It's actually being supported by science. And if we look at some of the research, we can actually see that when you change your thinking or your thoughts from, I'll say, to forgiveness, to love, that what the physiologists have found is that actually your physical DNA is impacted. It actually un uh, DNA is a molecule you're probably familiar with that has your genetic code and stuff, and creates the physicality or determines that. But the DNA molecule is something that scientists, it's a long strain and of nucleotides, and uh, it seems scientists looked and they what their research shows that a lot of the DNA strand is turned off, like 70%, and they postulate that the turning off and on of various aspects of the DNA might be related to how tightly it's uh, twisted. And when we change our thoughts, the degree of twisting of the DNA actually changes. And so, like, if we think uh, harmful thoughts, hateful thoughts, unforgiving thoughts, the DNA twists more. And if they're right, it probably turns off or turns on different parts of the DNA of the physical body. And if we think loving thoughts, it also will turn on or off different aspects. So, this idea that our mind, our focus, uh, is directly related to how your body reacts. And this comes back to the adage of what comes first, beliefs or thoughts or experiences. And this is demonstrating that our thoughts have a direct impact on our experiences. So, with that in mind, I'd like to get back to the uh, idea that I trust my brothers with who are one with me, and try and take a little journey of how our focus can perhaps change how we view our present situation. We're always in, even if we're recalling the past, it's being done in the present moment. And what that means is that when we change how we view things, we actually don't necessarily change the physical events that occurred in the past, but we change how we relate to those events. So, with that in mind, I'd like you to just become aware of the breath and start focusing on your essence. And your essence is not the physical body. It may, when you start focusing on it, it may appear to be uh, in uh, location in the body, but it's not of the body. Your essence is your individuated consciousness. So just become aware of your breath, take in that energy, energy in the love of God, in to your essence, and just start focusing your attention on your essence, your spirit. Religion might call it your soul, but it's your center of awareness. It's where you, as a uh, decision maker, get to decide where you're going to place your focus, your attention, your awareness, and what you're going to uh, observe and uh, bring into your uh, awareness. It may also be what you will tend to observe if we're dealing with the dimension of time and space in your world, but it's where we place our awareness, what we want to call into our awareness at that moment. So as you become aware of your essence, why don't we just move, just to play with a little, just move our essence outside the body and just continue to realize that the body is just a game token. You can place your attention on the body, you can place your attention anywhere you would like. And let's take a little journey. And although we'll be in the present, we want to do is we want to recall an event perhaps in our past. And let's make it in our past because we have some history of that. And let's just recall an event, a circumstance that appeared in the past that generated some type of response. And although it could be a positive response or a negative response, if you could search in your mind, and it'll be difficult, but find one that maybe seems to have some negativity associated with it, a negative response, a charge where you felt that you were perhaps uh, disrespected, where you didn't get what you wanted, where you felt let down by your world, by other people, that somehow what you were hoping to get didn't seem to pan out, that you were uh, not able to get your way, and therefore you felt hurt. You felt that there was either something wrong with your world or something perhaps wrong with yourself, that you weren't able to achieve the happiness or inner peace or particular physical result that you felt you needed to make you happy. So take a moment and pick one of those events. Now that you've selected that and you've got that kind of fixed in your mind, look at that event and from this current perspective, this current time, and all the events that have happened since, look back at that and see it unfolding and realize that you really don't necessarily have the ability to change what happened. That's what physically happened, people's responses. That is over. It has no ability to impact you unless you choose to call it into your awareness, unless you choose to replay it in your mind's eye, unless you choose to continue to look at it in the way you framed it in the past with your beliefs. And what this lesson is saying that we can do is that we can reframe, change our focus on events that are occurring now or that events that have occurred in the past that we're calling into our present awareness. And by changing our focus or our purpose, of what we want to glean from that event, we can actually change our relationship to it. And what the physiologists are telling us is we can actually change how our physical DNA changes in response to that event when we recall. So let's do a little bit of an experiment in reframing that past event. And what we want to do when we reframe, according to this lesson, is to change our focus, to change from the idea that we or someone has harmed us, someone has created a sin, offended us, or we have been slighted. And what we want to do is we want to move from the idea that everybody was participating as an earner, someone that needed to do and get a specific result for us to give them our blessing, and instead look at this and all the participants as active actors helping us learn new experience, and that each one is performing and they're learners, not earners. So everybody in this experience is trying to learn something about themselves, trying to grow and observe how they can minimize their fears, how they can respond in given situations to reduce their fear. And everybody is responding in the most loving way that they can be at that moment in time based on their current beliefs back then, and responding in the most loving way that would help them handle their fears. They're not sinners. You're not a sinner. We're just learning how to control our fears. And in that moment in time, perhaps where we were based on our beliefs, on our identities that we had brought upon ourselves, we responded in a limited way. But now, as we look back at that lesson, at that experience, what we want to ask ourselves is, what was that experience trying to teach me? What would I have to believe about myself to call that experience into my awareness? What would I have to believe about myself to perceive or to have a focus that I was being hurt, that somebody was acting unloving, or that I needed someone to do something to make me happy? What was I trying to learn? What was this act on the reawakening process trying to help me realize, help me learn? And as we do that, we shift our focus from this idea that we were an earner and that perhaps we failed in this experience or other people failed us, into this idea that now we're here to grow, learn, and that all these lessons were, and all the actors, all the events were a stage play designed to help us reawaken to the truth that nothing sources my experience but me, and nothing has the ability to cause me to lose my inner peace unless I choose to allow it. And today, in this moment, we choose to change our focus, realize that perhaps how we perceive that as something that was designed to make us happy or to earn some reward was actually a teaching lesson that teaches us that nothing can source our experience but us, that you have the power to control how you choose to interpret those events. And today we choose to change our focus and see that what we perceive to be a sin, a mistake, was not something that has a permanent effect on our physicality or our mental state. We can today reframe and move into a state of love, forgiveness, acceptance, realizing that we're all on a journey of awakening and that we need those experiences to reawaken us to the truth, to reclaim our spiritual magnificence as the Christ. And today we make a decision that what I thought was a sin was merely a mistake that needs correcting in my mind. Now I see that my sister, my brother, whatever the various actors were doing, they were all just playing roles in this reawakening process. All people were there fulfilling the roles that we needed actors to perform so that we could reawaken. You too were an actor, allowing that person to be able to look back and to ask, how did I respond? Did I respond to you in a loving way? Could I do it better? I know now that I was responding out of fear, but now because of that experience, can I respond differently? Can I forgive myself for how I acted? Can I allow that forgiveness to unwind even my physical DNA so that I recover that energy surge, so that I can release myself or my sisters or my brothers from the prisons that I have placed them in my own mind. And as we do that and we grant ourselves forgiveness and we see that this was not something that was a sin, it was just a mistake that needed correction. And as I start reframing and changing from a earner to a learner, when I start seeing myself and others as merely sinless, learning lessons, perhaps making mistakes, but those mistakes are no sins, no ability to change the truth of what we are. We reframe and release any negative energy associated with that event. Now we can play that in our mind and glean the lesson that it was designed to teach. The energy that was the negativity, the negative emotion that we had done was one of judgment, of making our brother, sister, the event a sin. Now we see all participants sinless on this journey of reawakening. We now realize the truth and we can trust our sisters. We can trust our brothers for They are one with you, sinless, learners, reawakening, fellow actors, strutting themselves. They're playing their roles in time and space to help all reawaken to the truth of our sinlessness. I trust my sisters. I trust my brother. I trust my world in them helping me reawaken to the truth that we remain sinless. This is a decision. This is a change of focus. See our world, our brothers and sisters, as on their own perfect path, responding in the most loving way that their current state of beliefs allows them to do, minimizing their fear. And as we realize that they're responding that way, we now realize that our task, our journey in this time space continuum is to minimize our own fear, to see ourselves as sinners, and to help our sisters, our brothers, see themselves as simply responding. And someday, because of our guidance, because of this learning process, they too will realize that fear is false evidence appearing real. Today, I make a decision to allow and trust each on their own perfect path and allow them to play the roles that they are required to do on their journey real without guilt, blame, or shame. I don't need to make them a sinner, and I certainly don't need to make myself a sinner either. We're all on our own perfect path. Today, make the decision as your essence that today I will focus on the sinlessness of my world. My world is designed to teach me what I truly am. My world is designed and the circumstances to let me hone my skills in demonstrating and gathering feedback as to what love would have me do. And as I do that, I polish that diamond in the rough. And I realize that I trust my sisters, I trust my brothers, for we are all one. We are all our diamond, perfect, whole, and as God created. Decide today how you will relate to your world, what your focus will be. As we make that decision and decide where our focus of our world, how we will relate to it today is, just become aware of your breath and start becoming aware of the body and start moving your essence and reconnecting to the body. And as you re enter the body and take up temporary residency there, let's say, we're going to place our essence in that awareness, this costume. We want to reanimate and reconnect and send our energy through the costume we call the body. Bring that energy up through the soles of the feet, the front of the feet, back through the back, the spine, up over the crown chakra, the front, back down the leg. And as we get to the soles of the feet, send an energy bolt back down through the connection to this world, the physicality, and reconnect with that body, with that earth, with this time space continuum, the world of perception that you will operate in today. And when you feel connected, just take a deep breath and open your eyes, knowing that you are the focus for your world. Your world is a reflection of you. Create a great day for yourself and your world. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. It's a good way to take our lesson of the day and anchor it throughout our day, have something to come back to. We've just gotten out of a whole set of review sessions and lessons and into this brand new area, and I love this lesson. It's one of my favorites. So I hope it's helpful to you. If you've been listening, you've got some feedback, I'd love to hear it. Tom, thank you so much for that meditation. And go ahead, Adriana.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So, good morning. Down there's George, David, Michael, good morning, and everybody down, Lee, Monica, Najami, Aster. Well, I really love the questions that Tom placed in there in its notes because it really brings my mind into this kind of yeah, specific experience in my own life. So the questions in today's notes is, have you ever had the experience of changing your focus and watching the perception of your world change? I gotta say that it was yesterday, I guess, or the day before, I don't remember. I was really having a moment. Yeah, it was Monday. I was having a moment of feeling like scared about everything. Like I was doing something in my computer and I couldn't figure things out. I was getting like stuck with a process that I needed to do, and I out of the sudden I started to feel like I am not gonna be able to pull this off and do this and be back on this kind of things that I used to do in the past. Well, I started to feel the entire fear of everything. So I had to stop and I went upstairs and I started to feel all the sadness and worry about everything. Like it really looked like a cloud passing by really strongly with a threat of storm. So I just lay down and then Lee came up and he said, well, we have to find this for our trip. And I was saying, but how was that? You never told me this before. And there was another, I mean, in that instant, another thing came from Lee that put more fear into my thought process. So I started to cry and I said, no, it's nothing. I know nothing is happening. And I know that everything is good, but it's just that I feel all these things and I don't even know why. And well, he just gave me a little bit of space because he had to work, so he went downstairs. But when he went downstairs, I truly closed my eyes and I said to God, well, I am in fear. I don't know why. Please help me. I have no idea where all these things are coming from, and I know they are not true. And I am free. I need help. Please help me because I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel like this, and I know this is not true. And it didn't happen like, I mean, not even 10 minutes passed by, and it was like 5 minutes, I guess. And then Lee came up and he said, well, you know what, the thing that I told you about a moment ago, it's solved because now I found this. So it was like out of the I don't know, the nothingness, that the thing changed in front of my eyes. I mean, the last thing that was fearful, that broke me down in tears, was something that it wasn't in my control to change, and I had to deal with it. But I knew in that moment that it was pure fear, so I had to just close my eyes and said, I am in fear. Please, God, help me. Take me out of this. I don't want this. I don't want this feeling, and I know this is not true. Please help. And really, like magic, I know there's a lot of things that has to happen in order for something change outside of me. But as I am not willing to surrender myself into fear, and I know that this tool that I have now in my life has been a wonderful way of living. Now, I I I'm I'm really giving all the credit to that thought process into my experience in that day, because the solution that Lee found wasn't something that he had thought before. And he told me, you know what, when I came downstairs, I kept thinking I have to call somebody, and I didn't remember who was it. And he just kept in my mind, he kept in his mind the idea that he needed to call somebody, and he found the solution really quickly. And I don't know if it was because I was saying to God, well, take me out of here or not, but it really was a very, very nice solution to the situation that I couldn't fix by my own. So I really truly believe every single day with this kind of simple details, that if I am at least willing to understand that I'm in fear instead of complaining about anything, I can change my perception. Because the first step in this thought process is recognizing that what I'm feeling is not actually, I don't know, uncomfort or sadness or anger. It's just fear. It's just one single thing, and it's fear, and it has nothing to do with me, because that is not who I am. So whenever you're willing to recognize the fear and really give it out, and give with 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 tenderness. It doesn't have to be something that you need to like exercise from yourself, because it's part of your experience in the level of the form. But you need to just realize that you can feel the fear, but not get attached to it, because you are now understanding that is not part of your true self. So when you feel it, you don't reject it, or you don't try to hide it, but instead you close your eyes, go within, and said, oh my God, what is this that I'm feeling? I don't want to feel like this. This is not true. I need help. Please let me, really honestly, let me get out of this. And some things happen. So I truly believe that the pathway of forgiveness is realizing that we, in this level of the form, will feel fear, but the fear can be undone. So I hope you all have experiences in that very same beautiful way, because I was feeling the entire cloud on top of me, and then with this last situation, I felt like broken in some form, and then I was all okay, like in seconds. It didn't took me that much time. I mean, it was like, oh, yes, I remember now. There's nothing to fear. And the solutions are around the corner if we just are willing to agree that we can be in fear in the level of the form, and let the Holy Spirit be the one who takes those things away, instead of our ego trying to solve the world. So, well, I wanted to share that experience, because I think it's really applicable to what the question are trying to bring in our minds. So thank you.
Right on. Uh, Adriana, you always manage to come up with a perfect living example of the lessons. And it's wonderful because you're learning every day, and we know that you're learning, and we're all doing the same thing. because we are applying it and we're getting results. And we have to learn that we're responsible for that. And remember that the word responsible is that it makes us able to respond when fear is just making our world look awful, just awful with no opportunity. Tom, the way you put today's lesson, I personally am going to go back and listen to it because I missed a lot of the beginning. But it reminds me of the Slinky. Everybody knows what a Slinky is. I remember when it was invented, everybody thought it was the greatest thing that ever happened. It's just, all it is a spring, but you can make it walk down the stairs just because of the kinetic energy and the different energies that happen when you use it correctly. So what is a Slinky? Slinky is basically a cylindrical shape altogether, but it's a spiraling thing because it's only one strand that spirals and spirals and spirals, and it comes out in the shape of a cylinder. Well, that is kind of like the DNA. If you pull it apart and just look at a few of the curves, you'll see obviously that it's one strand that is the whole Slinky. And sometimes when it's all scrunched up, it really can't do very much. It just sits there. But if you take a little bit of it and you open it up, if you're on a stairway, for a step, for example, and you move one end of it down to the next step to a point where the other end picks up and comes down and meets it, then you can create something that appears to move. Why am I bringing this up? Because, Tom, the way you put the DNA and the latest ideas that they're talking about, that it's the twisting of the DNA that is something happening within us. The real question is, who is twisting it? Is our ego twisting it? Is our Holy Spirit within enlarging it? And what I'm thinking is, and this is a new, I hadn't heard what you today. I'd like to talk to you about the sources of it, but what is the benefit of the understanding is this. If my DNA is like a Slinky and it's all scrunched together, that gives me the sense of fear. That gives me the idea that, we're kind of crouching because we're afraid of what is out there. It's going to get us. All that kind of silliness. One way or another, it's going to mess us up. They're all going to know I am really a sinner. I'm a loser, blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, if I recognize that I can actually affect with my thinking, that I can affect that DNA Slinky, and just where I see it got scrunched up in this one place, open it out, expand it, then there is a relaxation because I can let in more light. In fact, I can let light into the interior of this continuous double helix that is our DNA. I'm looking at it geometrically. That's my thing, and it really, really spoke to me the way you described it. It's what I've always believed, but now some scientists are once again moving into that direction, and to say we actually can affect this DNA, and if we can open up and spread apart all these revolutions, the cylindrical revolutions of our DNA, we can bring light and happiness into our lives by doing just what Adriana did. She knew she was feeling bad. Her Slinky was all crouched together. She was afraid of the outcome of something that she had decided should be a certain way, and it wasn't going to be that way, or whatever it was. But there was an element of fear. And it seems to me that if we crouch and we put that Slinky back to its original position, the way it came in the box, then we're not thinking outside the box. And we can pull that puppy out. Let me keep the words correct, the same. Pull the Slinky out, stretch it out a little bit, and say, oh my gosh, there's light, there's goodness, there's all. I'm a good Slinky today, and I can have better experiences in my life, and I can change things, and I don't have to argue, as we say here often, argue for our littleness if we accept our bigness. What is that? The Slinky pulled out and opened up and being able to manifest light and happiness. That's what we're all looking for in our experiences. So those are my thoughts in response to Tom's amazing meditation. And Tom, you and I are going to talk some more about this because I
I have
think
to
this
say
is a
another thing
okay.
to be more helpful about what you just said. In fact, rearranging, or I mean, when you are willing to just go through the experience of fear without any attachment, like saying this is real, it's just an experience of fear, you should not expect like this huge, like a explosion of activity that gives you a different experience. I'm sorry, I'm gonna close your mic, Bob, because there's no sounds around. Don't worry, I closed your mic already. So sorry. Um, you shouldn't wait for like this huge like miracle, if you want to call it like that, because it's not about you experiencing something like uh, out of this world. It's how you perceive the things that are in this world as a complete miracle. I was yesterday also because I want to. This is another experience, very similar than the one that I had in on Monday. But yesterday was because my daughter is graduating today from kindergarten, so this is her first that I get to miss because I'm not there with her. I have been always around her when she made something for the first time, and this is her first graduation process. So for me, it's really like, oh, I'm gonna miss it. And yesterday, at the end of the day, I was feeling sad, and I tell Lee, I know this is silly, but I'm really gonna cry. And I started to cry, and I said, I know nothing is happening and she will be okay and it's just in kindergarten, but I miss my daughter. And he said, well, maybe something that you need to feel. So let it be. So yeah, I I didn't feel inside of me any kind of um, resentment with my ex-husband because this experience may be part of his doing. No, I didn't feel that. I just felt that I was missing something. My daughter wasn't even being sad around the idea of not me being there. So I just dwelled in the moment for a few minutes, thinking, yeah, it's just my thought that I'm missing out her life. And then I have been, well, like this part is a little bit aside, but it's connected. There's always a cardinal that comes into my window every single morning and tweets really loudly, and I love that bird because I never saw that bird before in my life, in even in Colombia or Mexico. So for me, that bird is like something magical. I never had that experience to be able to see a cardinal so close. So I was with my tears and I was, well, yeah, this is just my thinking of I'm missing out something and everything is okay outside of me. And then I opened my eyes, and right in front of me, this beautiful guy that always visits me wasn't in the train. No, it was really in a place when I opened my eyes, I could clearly see it. So it caught my attention and I had to get out really quickly to the balcony to just see him. And I was so thrilled to see him, and I instantly felt better. I mean, my mind went away from the feeling of sadness, and I was just thrilled to see the beautiful red bird in front of me, jumping through branches and trying to find his way through a fence that it's in front of us full of weed. So it's it's those kind of things that we can also be aware of when you're feeling sad and you're feeling bad or angry, and you just know inside of you that it's not something that is part of you, and you can change your mind around that, and you really do your part inside of you to say, well, this is something that I'm feeling and I know it is not true, and I'm just gonna go through it. The universe will give you some love in that form too. So it's not about you changing people around you with your mind. It's not about you getting money with your mind. It's not about you being wealthy out of the sudden or healthy out of the sudden. That can be done too, but it's not about that. It's about you really being aware and appreciative about everything that is around you as part of one single love. Love in action. If you put love in action within you, the whole universe will support you because everything is one. So for me, that small experience yesterday was one of those kind of examples, because yeah, I was feeling sad, and then I see this beautiful bird. It made me get outside of the apartment into the balcony and breathe the air, see the nature, and it was so beautiful that I felt at peace, completely at peace. And I know today is gonna be a day really to challenge that kind of things, because my daughter has this huge event today for her, and she's really proud of it, and I will have to figure my way out of my feelings, and and I'm willing to do it because I know that my daughter is not missing out anything. I'm not missing out anything because I will have my interaction with her in some form. I have set up all the moms to give her hugs on my behalf when when she's down the stage. So I guess we have to really do the work in our day-to-day basis to be present, to be aware of everything around us as part of the love in action. So I wanted to share that too because I thought it will be a good tool to have today. Not just expecting things to change around us when we change our mind, but just appreciate everything as part of a love expression of God.
In regards to Bob's question that about those experiments, you go into my book, Ending Fear, the 7-Hour Formula for Fearless Awakening. They're briefly covered there. They're covered more in depth in uncovering your default belief class. But wanted to say that the U.S. military, anyways, did similar type experiments. Their difference in the U.S. military was they actually separated the DNA from the person that's going to be uh, changing their thoughts. Uh, they stopped at 400 miles, but what they found was that they were able to see when the person changed their reviewing various things and changing their thought, it untwined or had an impact on the DNA 400 miles away, and it happened instantaneously. So this idea of separation, somehow that person, although they're they had taken the sample and moved it away intravenous, those were still uh, having an instantaneous effect. The military stopped at 400 miles, but other labs did the same research, and over larger periods of distances, and it always appeared simultaneously. Obviously, they were limited as to how far of a distance they could go because they were on the Earth, but it was instantaneous. So this also, but there's a lot of different experiments on that, and it's ending fear, and really covered more in depth than uncovering your default belief class. But yeah, so science is telling us what is confirming this wishful thinking that the mystics have always been claiming is true. So it's no longer wishful. There's science to back it up. You know, and they're realizing that there seems to be a energy force that they weren't aware of that exists and permeates this world and everything. Thank you.
I think that we give ourselves a stumbling block, and then we stumble over it when we think of the phrase scientists are telling us. And Tom, you've used this a number of times, and it's typical of the way we all think about scientists. But it's not so much the scientists are telling us this new thing. What, just like you said, it it's more like they are simply confirming, because that's what scientists do. They confirm a belief. That's how it always starts out. They do an experiment. Let's try looking at it this way. Let's try looking at it that way. And suddenly they come upon a way of looking at it, a new viewpoint, which is also how you describe what Adriana did. She changed her viewpoint, and with the newest viewpoint, then the scientists could confirm that you can stretch your Slinky or stretch your DNA and untwist it enough so that you get a different experience in your life. And so that that phrase makes it seem like there's one camp over here where all the nerds and the geeks are. And I remember the first time that Lee told me that he's a geek, and I had to kind of wince about that. My son, a geek? He's a terrific geek. But back to the scientist for a second. It's not this.
Agreed.
It's not this boring group of people who just sit around and tell us things. They are now utilizing more and more, like you're saying, of what the mystics have always said, and which this book is full of mystical experiences, but we don't use that word because it throws people off. They think, hey man, I'm not into that kind of stuff. Forget it. What it really means is that the natural way that we live, we have the opportunity to rearrange the way our DNA is working, to rearrange even the way our atoms are. Now, does that mean I can get down there like I'm on a pool table and move a few of those things around? No, but it does mean, in the way the book describes, that I can do something with fear. And it simplifies this whole process for us because there's only two things. This is what Jesus, the great teacher, gives us. It's either love or it's fear. Those are the ultimate experiences we can have. And every other experience falls into one or the other. If we're having a bunch of fear, we need to expand and not think of ourselves as littleness. And that's all it takes. And then we can begin to really see a better world. There are a million ways to say this. Georgia and I talked about it a little bit. There's a million ways to say this. Every mystic has had their own way. Deepak Chopra has his way. The Hindus have their way. All the different religions have interpreted it. But it really comes down to we are the ones, as Tom says often, who can source our experience. We can change the experience we're having if we don't like it, which means fear or anger or resentment or guilt. We can change it by reviewing the way our Slinky, the way our DNA is set up. We can change it at that level because right there is our signature. That's who we are. That's the change between the thought right into physicality. That DNA controls how this bus is going to run. question is, who's driving it? As Lee says often. So these are all just wonderful thoughts this morning. I'm really excited about it, where we're going, and we're getting closer to part two. We're in part one. We have been in part one. We will still be in it for, another month or so. But once as we continue, we're learning all of the things that are possible. We may not do all of them perfectly yet, but that time will come also. Usually now, we're trying this out because the book said try it. We try it. It worked pretty good. Next time we try it, wow, this was good. There's another thing coming on. And that's the way our lives open up and expand and realize that we don't have to argue for our littleness anymore, because this is a big world and we can make an impact in this big world. It gets much better. So those are my thoughts. It's 8
Thanks,
o'clock.
Papa.
Back to you, Lee.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for coming and joining us. We start here at about 6:30 every morning, reading our lessons out of the book, A Course in Miracles. And a lot of times when this book shows up in our lives, it might take a couple of times. Astra, I don't know if I've ever talked to you before, but I'm wondering if you might share with us how the book found you, or how you found the book, if you've read it, and if you can talk. Go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My
Hi.
name,
Good morning.
my name is Esther, as you can see. It's rather I found the book. I was
Lovely.
uh, I was born in an area called Tigray in the Horn of Africa. However, I've grown up in different countries, but my family resides there, and they have been under genocidal attack for the last 63 days today. So, therefore, I was looking for outlets to hold onto my sanity, to maintain life, to take care of my patients. I am ICU nurse, just to keep me going. So I came across through those times, and I've read it 3 times so far. And it's interesting. We live and we learn. But every day I choose that, well, I understand that I cannot change things that happens, anything with us in the world, bad things. But I understood that I can change how I react to them. Um, I just pick my reality of different version of than what we see every day, in a sense, or what we deal. So I am very in tune with myself. I can tell when my energy is shifting and I'm changing my behavior. So I ask myself, okay, something is missing. I need to remove myself from this environment and let me go back to myself. I deal that way with daily basis. I have a stressful job. Like Andrea, you were saying, your daughter with her dad. I had to miss a swim meet because they were with their dad. It's interesting. I have dealt with the same scenario yesterday, but I know for the best it was good for me to just remove myself. And I say the next time they are with me, we will have another meet. So that's how I find out through life, I guess. And all I can say is English is my fifth language. So excuse how I am explaining things.
You are
However,
doing so good.
however, thank you so much. And I appreciate, and I'm so grateful that I found you guys this morning.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
Can,
Thank you so much for joining us.
Esther,
It's
can you tell me what
God
the
bless it.
language? I'm sorry, Lee. I interrupted you. Please continue.
That's okay. No, go ahead, Dad.
I wanted to know, Esther, are you from Ethiopia? I saw that on your bio originally.
I was born there. And my last family left when I was a kid. Yep.
Okay, and the language that I'm seeing, I don't know what it is for sure, but I'm guessing. Well, tell me please what the language is that you're using. Of course, we can always have it translated automatically, but what is that language? The
So
letters and stuff, the alphabet.
it's called Tigrinya. It's 14th century language.
Wow.
It's only a few people that speaks it. About give and take 5 to 7 million. And the second language that I speak, Arabic. Third one, I mean the second, third one Amharic, and then fourth one Armenian, and then English.
So that's at least four languages?
About five, yes.
Five. Okay. Well, let's see, English also. That's amazing. Um, and you're from Africa. That's really interesting to me, and it's fascinating that you have come so far in your quest and your desire to be a cause over your life as instead of only an effect. And so many of us live for a long time as the effect of what's going on. We don't think we can change anything, but we can start by changing the way we think about stuff and the way we experience them in the way that Tom led us this morning. I'm grateful that it's going to be on Facebook, and I'm going to take a look at. I'd like to listen to some of it again. Um, every once in a while, there's a
Well,
special.
I might have messed that
Yeah.
part up, Dad. You're gonna have to go to YouTube to view it, but the link is right above, and it's in the playlist. So not on Facebook today, unfortunately, but it is on YouTube.
Okay, that works. My son, the geek.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, he's a MacGyver geek. I want you all to understand that if something needs to be fixed, he has to use his geekish way of looking at it, which is fascinating in and of itself. But anyway, Aster, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I hope you'll continue to come back. Um, I've been studying this for many, many years, way over 20 years, and I always hear new things, just like Tom just brought to the table. So I'm thrilled with this morning's meeting. Thanks very much. Lee, back to you.
All right. Well, I think we've probably, squeezed the lemon here pretty well. Najami, if you've got anything to share, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, hi. God morning. God is morning, everyone. How you loving? How
God
you loving?
morning. Yes. Wonderful.
Yeah. So, okay, couple questions. One is where I did the research looking at the word sin. And I found interesting analogies of where the word sin originated from. And I, from my own humble research, the ancient cultures, you talk about African, Indian, even Native American, sin was not really part of their cultural lingo. And I don't believe in the word sin because I find the word sin psychologically keeps us entrapped in fear and guilt. I used to feel that way a lot when I was much younger. Well, yeah, you think that there's some big when you die that you want to some big guy in the sky is going to have some videotape playing back all of the things that you have done, and understanding that the things you went through were really lessons to raise you to a certain higher level of consciousness. And again, I also want to touch base on something that happened yesterday at work, in trusting that spirit really has your back. So I'm going to be off from work from Friday to Monday because I'm also a massage therapist for over 30 years. So I'm working this big festival in New York called the International African Arts Festival. And I needed two more patients today to keep the unit open because right now I'm the only counselor who's doing the admissions at the hospital because they're hiring some new people. And so I had made an appointment for one guy to come in today. And yesterday I'm at my desk and in comes in this former patient. So I said, Mr. R, how did you get up in here? He said, oh, I came to visit a friend of mine's and I want to know if I can come in today. So there were my two people that I have for today, right? And it just it may seem simple, but the whole idea is that what we put out, we attract, very much so. If we live in that state of fear, or where fear is false evidence appearing real, or as Dwayne Dwyer eloquently says, ego is edging goddess out. You cannot be attuned to the wisdom and the grace of Holy Spirit if you are always letting the ego be in the driver's seat or fear ruling the day. And I was explaining this to a patient yesterday, a new patient who came in, and I said, we often forget that we are really spiritual beings living in the avatar of a human. And if when we are going through our ickiness and whatever, if we can just be aware of the uncomfortability of the thought that is making your body feel. So if you're thinking a fearful thought, or you're thinking a thought of disgust or anger, to be aware of how is your body reacting to this feeling, and then what can I do to shift it. And sometimes, what tools can I apply? So I may apply tools like either listening to something on YouTube to shift the change, or play some reggae or soca or any type of music or meditative music, or take a nap, or just go outside and just be grateful that I can feel the sun and I can see and I can smell, because there are so many other people who cannot move or even feel the sun. So just a matter of just being grateful for simple things that we take for granted, such as waking up. You ain't guaranteed to wake up every morning. Your heart can stop at any time and say, okay, that's it, lights out. That's all, folks. We take simple things for granted. And so it's just to be so grateful for the little things that we have. Like Adriana, your daughter is graduating. What a wonderful experience, her first experience. And I'm quite sure in the graduation you will cry some more today, right? Watching this
Yeah,
beautiful
for sure.
angel
Yeah.
walking down and being all in glee because she's so happy just doing this experience, and just being grateful for those who we have close relationships with, or even for this circle of aligned souls coming together and sharing knowledge and wisdom to encourage ourselves as we move forward to do Goddess blessing work. So everyone have an awesome, productive day. I just journaled that to this morning, that everything, which I love the words of Abraham Hicks, everything is always working out for me, and help is always on its way in amazing, fantastic ways. And always, always expect fantastic, spectacular, opulent, magnificent, magical, fun things to happen to you. And I leave that for the day. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Oh,
And
what a
Tommy,
wonderful share. Thank you so much. Mm.
yeah, your picture just exudes the joy that you have just expressed. I just look at the picture. I have to blow it up so I can see it, because your face is very little in the icon. But if you tap on it twice and I can see it, oh my gosh, you're just a happy kind of person. And what you're saying is wonderful. Thank you, as Lee said, for sharing it. It was great.
Well, I also want to say that is me at work. So I go to work with
Oh,
a lot of colors. And
yeah.
someone who always asks me, you wear a lot of colors. Or if I'm in the elevator, oh, I can't wait to see what you're going to wear. It's like coming attractions. It's like, really? I wear colors galore, and I love hats as
I
well.
could see that
So
smile
colors.
coming a mile away.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you're seeing people feel the energy of my vibration and my colors. I keep to myself because, I work in a hospital, and yeah, I can sense the mayhem with certain people's vibration. So I am attracted to those who are aligned with me, and I don't have to be everybody's friend. I smile, good morning, how are you? And if my colors make you feel vibrant and good, or encourage you to wear more colors, by all means, because colors do shift your moods.
Isn't it
That's
amazing
beautiful.
that the whole generation of style let's forget about the far past, but in general, women dress up with colors, all kinds of colors on their face, on their in their clothing and so on. And what do the guys do the way it used to be? We put on a different color tie, maybe. And then my wife started bringing me new kinds of socks. It started with Christmas, and I have some Christmas socks. They have Santa Claus on it. I began to get more and more color. And now, just I can't even hardly wear a tie anymore. But color does change so much, and it just opens up new, I don't know, maybe those chakra things that people talk about, and it's so much nicer. You make a colorful world, and thank you so much for your. I wish I was in the building and at least saw you once in a while up the elevator, because that would
Yeah,
open
but
up my
listen,
day.
wear your color. I love to see men in colors, men wearing pink. And I saw a guy wearing a burgundy like socks yesterday with a kind of a fuchsia short pants
Oh
and a
my God, is that
colorful,
allowed? Oh my God.
yes, and a colorful kind of plaid shirt where the colors match the
Absolutely.
pants and the socks. And I was like, yes, you
That's
know,
right.
that is being brave and bold enough to step out of yourself and just do something different. And I wear my hair with designs in them. And today I'm going to color my hair. I think I might do either purple or I might do a blondish color one or two. All right.
So,
But just, uh-huh.
I was going to say, in case anyone wasn't sure, you are a woman of color.
I am a woman
And
of color.
Yeah.
But
that's
I
right.
think I'm a woman of many colors. I'm like a rainbow, trust me.
Many colors. The rainbow is
My
in
dad
you.
has said so many times about our rainbow family we love it. It's absolutely
Yep.
fantastic. What a great way to
Yes,
start the day.
fantastic.
Thank you for that joy, Najami. Really, really. I really appreciate your participation when you can connect with us. Thank you very much. And Aster, I'm really glad to hear your voice, and I'm really impressed by the five languages. I
Yeah, funny.
myself love languages, and I love to learn languages. I'm with my mindset to the third one, that it's German, but I still in the process of it. So I really want to say to you both that I hope that I can see you here um, regularly, because I really enjoy the conversations with experiences that are far beyond our own, like space in time, right? So I'm really grateful for that. And Najami, have a wonderful event in New York. I really wish I could be there. There's so many good friends that I have met here in these rooms that are in New York, and doing such a great things around yeah, the perception of life. Yeah. And so I'm really glad. You should meet my friend Stella Johnson, that she's also a Course in Miracles student, and she has this spark of life in her so beautifully. You two should meet someday. You make me remind of her. So thank
Oh,
you very
great.
much, everybody. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
I'm gonna say goodbye for now, because I'm waiting my daughter's call for the morning. So I'm gonna say goodbye for now. But I'm really enjoying this conversation. So thank you very much. Thank you, Asta and Yami, especially, and everybody down below for staying with us for this period of time. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Create a great day. Namaste.
Namaste, Tom.
I'd like to invite Hilla. If I know you're down in the room, if you'd like to come up, I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about about your background. It looks